10.5 FM, the air of success.
We are in the 5 o'clock hour, and if it's 5 o'clock, it's hard copy. Hard Copy is a presentation of the McKinney Media Group, copyrights 2015, all rights reserved. The views and statements and opinions of guests expressed on this show does not necessarily reflect the views of the hosts, sponsors, or operators of this radio station. No part of this program may be copied or reproduced in full or in part without the express written consent of the producers. Hard Copy. And this is Hard Copy on the McKinney Broadcasting Radio Network. Hard Copy seeks to lay out the facts in simple fashion for the inclusion of all Bahamians and Bahamians at heart. The focus every day to move forthright in our manner to build a progressive and developing country. Our desire is for a Bahamas with a competent, skillful, and productive workforce. We want a country that can feed and sustain itself. We want a country with a brilliant, visionary action plan that's ready to embrace a future of hope and prosperity. We encourage like-minded Bahamians to participate with intelligent and honest contributions. After all, we have a country to build. We've got jobs and industry to create, a people to inspire and empower, and generations of born and unborn Bahamians we the people must protect and plan for. And if not you, then who? If not now, then when? Today on Hard Copy, a lot about a lot of things. We're going to open our lines for you today. Let's dialogue. Let's have a discussion. We've got lots of things that we've got to deal with, and we need you to be a part of that visionary approach. This is Hard Copy.
Entrepreneurs, are you missing out on sales because you don't accept credit card payments? Then BLB has the solution for you. Introducing BLB Mobile Express, the most affordable mobile card processing package for self-employed persons. With BLB Mobile Express, you can accept credit card payments almost anywhere on your smartphone or tablet, so you never have to miss a sale. Get paid on the spot with BLB Mobile Express. Visit any BLB branch or call us at 397-3000. BLB, your bank of solutions.
3 words catapulted him to millionaire status. He calls it a wealth whisper. The Commonwealth Embassy presents the Billionaire Believer Summit 2015. 1 day, 2 nights of intensive success training. Dynamic speakers include Dr. Shawalta Johnson, Greg S. Reed, and Dr. Mike Murdoch of the Wisdom Center. Mark your calendars and make your way to the British Colonial Hilton, June 22nd to 23rd. Register now at CommonwealthEmbassy.org or call 376-8054. It's out of this world. Seats are limited.
Oh, I love my island. Oh, my island made. Oh, I love my island. My island made. Oh, I love my island.
Island Made, locally produced products here in the Bahamas and available for purchase. For more information about our products, give us a call at 362-1102 or 362-1113. Island Made brands located in the Bacardi Plans, encouraging you to buy Bahamian and support local entrepreneurship.
My island made. We got finger club, that's my island made.
When it comes to hurricane season, being ready isn't enough. You have to be prepared. Prepare early at Super Value and Quality Supermarkets with great specials like 15-ounce Libby's corn or sliced beets, $1.39. Seneca apple juice, 64-ounce size, $2.99. Domestic foil, 25-foot box, $1.49. Fresh Corito all-purpose cleaners, 32-ounce bottle, $1.59. Low sodium Ciara chicken franks, 12-ounce pack, 99 cents. Find everything you need to be prepared this hurricane season at Super Value and Quality Supermarkets.
Good afternoon, Hard Copy.
Hey, Steve, what's up? Steve's my man.
Hi, Steve. How are you doing today?
Hey, Steve McKinney.
Hi, Steve. How are you today?
All is well, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Hi, Steve. How you doing?
Hi, Steve. Hi, Steve. I am calling to thank you so much.
I respect to you, Mr. McKinney. How are you?
I was just calling on a point that you made. I think you're so correct.
Thank you so much. It is Wednesday, the 10th day in the month of June, 2015. Today, the people talk. We open our telephone lines for you this afternoon on Hard Copy. As you battle the congested city streets and drive home traffic, we have mostly cloudy skies this afternoon, 84 degrees in the nation's capital. There's a low scheduled for tonight of 77 degrees, a 30% chance of rain in the forecast. Thank you so much for joining us on the drive home. I'm Steve McKinney. This is Hard Copy, and we're brought to you today by Bank of the Bahamas, the Bank of Solutions. BTC every day, the new Samsung's S6, now available, going fast at BTC. Super Value, the All Bahamian Supermarkets, the McKinney Media Group for effective PR concepts and advertisement. Island Made products for the best Bahamian products. You want to check out Island Made. Ministry of Tourism, AML Foods, Solomon's Fresh Market, and Cars Right. They get together and they put plenty of monies out there for you to try and win some nice trips to any place in the world, I suppose. Advantage Insurance and Brokers, 61 Collins Avenue, Superwash, with 11 locations around New Providence, and they're open all day and all night. Ron's Electric Motors, Ron Frazier on Claridge and Wolf Road, fixing all small motors and engines. He can do it. Sky Bahamas, professionals in every way, every day, fly in the friendly skies. Colina Financial Advisors, Limit, Tony Ferguson and company. They're doing a fantastic job working out your pensions. Check them out. The Billionaire Summit, Executive Printers, Henry F. Store, and Le Bleu Ultra Pure Drinking Water, the official water of hard copy. So we're back here in the saddle again today, and with all the stuff that's going around, it could be mind-boggling if you let it. It could encourage you or discourage you if you let it. You can just take it for what it is. These are the things that are happening, and in the words of Christie, who's these days in Brussels, he is saying that it is what it is. Prime Minister, we're on business, and lots of things happening, and he has to respond to keep things together. His response yesterday to that of Greg Moss's position and resignation. Christie's response was simple and plain that, he's not surprised. Says he could see this long time coming because, he studies his young proteges, whatever they are in his midst, and he knows and he knew. And so he's not that surprised. But there's so many other things that the Prime Minister may be nonchalant about, not so surprised about. And these are the things that worry the nation every day. And so I've opened my telephone lines to you today so that you can help to keep them up. And I want your participation. Let's keep everybody on page, because I have to ask you, how do you respond to all that is happening right now in the country? And it is very important that you show interest, because so many people are not showing interest. Hardly anybody's really showing the interest on this immigration problem from a point of doing something about it. Hardly anybody of any repute is showing interest on any number of areas as far as the housing problem is concerned, with people losing the mortgage. I want to say the mortgage relief problem. And I'm wondering if, in fact, we are all out of touch with what is going on. And I do this from a perspective that we can, in fact, continue only to make suggestions, because that's all we can do. But it's quite interesting, the dilemma of our country. And I just wonder if this is encouraging or discouraging to you. Let me tell you what, I get a sense that people are so tired now that they just want something to hurry up and be done, whatever that something is. Is that an election, you think, that people want to? Let's just hurry up and do it. Let's start over again. This cannot be right. This seems to be nightmarish for most of us. What is it that we want? Do we know what we want anymore? Do we have a clear mandate as to what's supposed to be happening? Because we've been talking, and some have listened, but they have not comprehended. Some have heard what we have said, but have not decided to put their shoulder to the wheel. And so I'm wondering if this is just a total waste of time. That's the kind of framework I'm in today, of what we are saying as people means anything. I mean, Greg Moss, in his resignation, said a whole lot of things that are very interesting. Yet we've heard them time and time again. We've heard them before. It's almost like we just keep repeating the same old stuff, because everybody seems to be speaking it. But how do we get around to make sure that something is done quickly in time? Do you think? These are questions I'm putting on the table. You can just call me and let's talk. 325-0235-6, 325-0242-43, and 325-0252-53. Do you think that people who are of the means, with intelligence and energy to make a difference, do you think they've given up? Do you think that we're on our own? Do you think that people have been so disappointed this so far in this administration and in previous administrations that they've just opted out now. Do you think that's what's happening to us? We cannot allow for apathy to set in. And I do admit, sometimes I feel as if, boy, you know, what's the use? But I know that we've got to keep on trucking. We've got to keep on trucking. We've got to keep on pushing. But what do you think is happening with us? I mean, the psyche of the country seems to be a little shaky. For instance, we see where Christie said what he said about walking on eggshells. We talked about it. We amplified it on this show. And we see a great response to it in the Tribune today from the Commissioner of Police. And Commissioner of Police, you know, seemingly agitated about that whole matter. And I can't blame him. But you see his response that, you know, we are doing a number of things to solve crime. And we have great detection and we've been getting results. But this murder, this stubborn murder thing that keeps escalating, he says, is the only statistic that we have not improved upon or that we've not been able to really get down. All the other statistics are down, he says. And we want to believe that, and for the most part, we think and we support the police that they're doing a pretty decent job. And we're not just saying that tongue in cheek. We really believe that they are. Without the police, there's nothing much that can be accomplished, you know. But those statements by Christie that opened the Pandora's box for a lot of things to be said, and then Commissioner to come back and not respond. He was careful not to respond directly to any political statement because he knows that's the executive and that's the prime minister, and he's not into any confrontation. The Commissioner of Police, very, very sober and righteous in his position and straight. He has given us some straight talk that, you know, really, he's not about to get into any kind of war with the war of words and going behind what the prime minister said or anybody else. He said he is in the business of doing policing and that is what we all should be doing. He asked the same question I asked you last week. Do you know where your children are? Are you doing your part? See, what I'm saying here is because of all the things that have happened and are happening, even media is going to people who they should not be expecting to get any comment from. With regards to a comment that can cause confrontation or give a perception that Commissioner and the Prime Minister are around, that kind of stuff. So I thought the Commissioner was very, very good in his statements. And I want to congratulate him for being steady and sticking to the job because it's not an easy job. And so today in my statements, I want to salute some people who I think have been doing good too. Because the country needs encouragement. We need encouragement. And yes, I have to be the first to admit that there is great negativity because there's a lot of foolishness happening. But we've got to still, in our best efforts, try to balance some things. We need encouragement. There's some people who need encouragement today, and you can hail them on this open line Wednesday afternoon for you on Hard Copy because I believe that discouragement is set in many regards. You know how many people have not been paid? So many people have not been paid yet from the Junkanoo Carnival. I understood that they made an effort today to deal with some of it, but this was very low-key. But there's so many problems that we have, and people at this point in time can't really take no more, you know. And that's why I'm saying maybe today you should get involved and give me that brilliant idea about how we can keep the positive forces open and be of a positive mental attitude in these days of serious stress and misery. How do we keep a positive mental attitude at this particular time? A lot of people believe that we are seeing too many tragedies. But we are thanking God today for the people who did not die in that plane crash yesterday, the people who are basically miracles. When I read the story this morning and listened in on what is happening, I'm convinced that, thank God, there is a God. How many of you stopped to pause and really reflected on that? Do you know, on a single-engine aircraft coming from Pitts in Crooked Island to New Providence on a single-engine aircraft, and it goes down, the engine just failed, and it goes down, it drops out of the sky. The pilot, obviously a very good pilot, was able to crash landed into the water and didn't lose a soul. 5 souls on board. Nobody was lost. But on top of that, this inflatable thing that they had The plane went down about sunset, they say, just after 7. So it was still kind of like daylight. And then they had close calls with people they thought saw them in the water on the raft, the 5 individuals. And then nothing happened from 7 o'clock until 11 o'clock in the water with a baby. The report says the baby was crying the whole time. But there are 5 souls, Bahamians, young people, and the Lord was with them. To have been in the water all that time, and somehow by a miracle, the light that was on this raft that couldn't work, wouldn't come on, wouldn't on the inflatable thing that they had on the plane, that they came out and was on it, it just suddenly came on. It just suddenly came on around 11 o'clock. Imagine that, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, in the water with a baby crying, and the tragedy of falling out of the air 13 miles from New Providence, and they're in the water, and you tell me there's no God. This is not luck. This is the good news that they had people, they had angels, and a miracle happened right there in the waters, and we see the tragedy, and we read through the tragedy, and I wonder if we stop to pause that miracles continue to happen, because that's what it was. You know what it is to fall out of a plane into the water, water coming in fast, the captain still strapped in his seat, couldn't get out, eventually slipped the seatbelt over his head, got out into the water where the others were now with the raft, came from the plane, and a baby crying the whole night. I think God heard the baby. I think the crying of the baby is symbolic of something. I think the whole incident is a situation to remind us that we only have to cry out loud. Help will come, even if you don't see it. And all that water around them as it grew dark, they saw no boat. They saw nothing. And then there's that symbolic light on that raft that came on. They'd been trying to get it on, it wouldn't come on. Then it just came on around 11 in the night in the pitch black dark of the waters 13 miles away from New Providence, their destination, and a whole lot of miles away from Crooked Island, in the water. My Lord. This morning you woke up to a miracle when you read the newspapers. The whole incident is a miracle. I'm calling it that because I want to get your attention. Because we believe that nothing good can happen because of our present situation. No matter how bad it is, something good is about to happen. You could imagine the happiness when that helicopter, U.S. helicopter, saw that light and came over them, and they were rescued when there was no hope, when it was dark, literally, mentally, psychologically dark. All of their everything has been dashed, but the baby cried. And help came. Because God don't forget his people. Now you say things happen all the time. How come he didn't come here? Don't ask me about that. I am not qualified to talk about that. The mysteries. All I know that faith tells me that a miracle happened for the nation to see. That no matter how dark it gets, you can cry out to God as they all were doing, and he will come in the nick of time. And look at them. Not one soul lost. They were all saved. Don't you feel good about that? You got to feel good about that. Would you have survived? You see, I come to tell you that because there's so many people who've given up on everything, given up on life. That's why we have suicides. Given up on ambition, given up on hope, given up on everything, and given up on politics and building a country and everything else. We have given up, many of us. That's the collective we, because I will always be battling. But I'm telling you, you can't give up. That's the story, you know. The real story is of a group of people that were rescued in a plane crash that could have been tragic, that could have been the end of it, but it wasn't. I'm sure that families wrote them off. When I said I'm talking about affiliates, people who they may not have given up hope, but they say, boy, I don't know, this looks bleak. We ain't had nothing yet. And then right in the nick of time, they are rescued, baby and all. When I think of things like that, those kinds of stories are here to compel us, to inspire us, to make us stop and think how fragile life is, and not only that, how, if we are determined, we'll be okay. Now, all of them couldn't fit on the raft, you know. Some hang in the water. But to be in the water, in the dark, with no light around, and then suddenly, I want you to see that today. That's why I'm stressing it. I want you to see that and put it into context in your own life. We are now surrounded by water that can cause us to perish. It's dark all around us as a nation in many regards, with the many things that bother us and hamper us and pull us down, and we've got to look for a miracle. And it could happen because God loves this nation. We are his people. And no matter how many of the bad ones do all the foolishness that they do, God will not be mocked. You remember the carnival, Junkanoo? Have you been paid yet? There's a lesson in that, you know. I was reading a press release from the Christian Council where they were totally against this whole thing and warned against it and all that kind of stuff. And see, we still did it because we have free will. That's what it's all about with human. We have free will to do what we want. But there's also penalty in that free will for what we do. I want to say that to you to say that all of these things that we see happening is not by accident, you know. These things are here to make us grow, to pull us together as a country, to help us to go into that other level, to bring things right, to do the right thing, to be honorable, to be righteous, to be fair, to be just, to be truthful, to be leaders, to fix the country once and for all. And we can do this. But there are some people who refuse to pray and to cry out for help. If you don't cry out, you may not be saved, like the people in the plane crash. A miracle. I use it as a piece today to keep us steady, to help us to be reminded that many are the plans of man. It is God's purpose that prevails. I use that today to help you understand something, that all this mess that we are in, all this stuff, we have gone down, all of this stuff that we're in, we can still be okay if we pull together and believe, even if others don't believe in us, even if they've given up on us, even if they tell us that they believe in us and didn't check for us. We still got a source. And we still can come out of this together as a country, strong and vibrant. We're getting close to that time of July, the time when we will birth as a nation. So a number of things are happening here that should make us understand that there's a lot of work to be done, and we cannot jump off the line or cannot decide that we're going to go contrary because we don't see any real glimmer of hope. We only see darkness. as the people saw in the water the other night. We don't see any immediate solution. We just see problems, and we see our situation as being dire, bleak. Maybe if we forget the man and concentrate on the power, we can change our situation. That in itself, that sermonette just now is really the whole show. Because good things can still happen if we persevere. So let's not give up. Let us stay steady. We must not give up. We must remember that every day that God has given us, we must try to do the right thing. And the eyes of the Lord watches over those who do the right thing, and his ears are open to their prayers. And that's why I tell you, be encouraged today, because we got lots of problems, and we seem to be having a leadership crisis, and people falling down over one another and not so sure what they're supposed to be doing. And the picture's not pretty. We won't gonna lie. We're not gonna lie to you. The picture's not pretty. It looks bad. It looks almost hopeless. But it's gonna be okay. And that's why I've opened my lines for you today to express yourself, because really I ask a fundamental question, What's happening with us? Where are we going? Somebody pulls up to the gate of L.W. Young School. This whole school is shut down after a shooting of a security officer that has him battling for his life. Where are we going, friends, with all this violence? Where are we going? The commissioner of police feels compelled to defend himself and his reputation as police force because of loose statements. Loose lips sink ships. Where are we going? We see we are up down to 65 plus murders, recording 10 per month. We're on a fast track for a record in homicides. Where are we going? What are we doing? We see the fact that more and more people are joining the unemployment line. It looks bad. It's bleak. Unemployment continues to escalate. We were reminded of that. The misery index continues to increase. But we mustn't lose hope. It has to get better. And if we've got to whale the backsides of these fellows who are in charge of the country that we sent there, we must do that. It has to get better. This is not acceptable where we are. I think people are doing their job by trying to be as patient as they can, but really, more has to be done from the central government. They are the legislators. They've got to start thinking and listening to new ideas and solutions so that we can get out of this mess. Could you imagine if the people who went down on that plane were in the water fighting over the raft? Do you think that anybody would survive? Could you imagine if they didn't listen to one another and try to work as a team to save themselves? Do you think anybody would have survived? If they weren't patient and tolerable with the baby crying constantly during the whole ordeal, do you think they would have made it out? I tell you, that happened for a reason. To help us to steady ourselves. The most powerful man there was the pilot who knew what to do and all that. But he too was a part of the victim pool. They had to work together in the midst of the dark waters. They had to hold the faith. They had to hold their heads and don't freak out. That's what I want to tell you today. If they didn't do it, we would have been talking tragedy in the Bahamas. But then hope stayed abreast, stayed afloat like them, and eventually the light on the raft came on and they were spotted. Could you imagine that? I mean, what kind of how could that happen? How could that happen without the Almighty? I want you to tell me that. It didn't matter if they were DNA, FNM, or PLP on that RAF, I want you to see this. That's why I'm giving it to you. Didn't matter if they were. What mattered was that they worked together. They saved themselves. If you ain't get that yet, you're slow. Hard copy, how are you? Hi there, hard copy, how are you? Hard copy, how are you?
McKinney, good evening. How you doing?
Peace and love always. I'm good.
I hope the nation listened to you this evening in your opening, man. It's so timely. You opened my eye to a whole new perspective. I was prompted to call. It just goes to show us in the midst of uncertainty where things appear to be bleak and dark. God is still speaking. God still wants His glory to shine.
Absolutely.
And I believe the enemy just wants us as a people to stay focused on the negatives of what's going on. And I believe if we could just come together and be focused and cling to God, the more we cling to God, eventually He would respond.
No question about it.
Things our way.
No
But
question.
if we just keep complaining about what the government ain't doing and what needs to be done, I think that's a trick of the enemy.
Yep.
Keep us frustrated and miserable and as opposed to coming together, like you also spoke about the pilot. They all had on that raft. They all had to come together and humble themselves, and in order to survive. In order to survive, everybody had to come together and listen to each voice was important.
Absolutely, you said it.
Yeah, each voice was important.
Each voice was important.
And that this is where we have to come as a country again. Every voice should be important. Let's listen to every voice in order for everyone to survive.
My Lord, you said it better than I did.
This is prophetic, man, and this is a message, and I think we should continue to speak, and so that the Bahamian people who are so busy and caught up that they may stop and hear what's going on.
I appreciate your call.
Thank you.
Thank you very kindly. 325-023546, 325-0242 or 43, and 325-0252 or 53. You want some good news? That's good news. But that's good news centered on the Almighty. That's not good news centered on man. Man wants to hear good news about what they have done in themselves, and that's fine in its place. But the biggest news that's in the newspapers today is the news of those people. But we mustn't miss it. I want to now go back and refer you to something else that also involves a plane crash. There were 2 flights in far-off places. Neither have been found. Souls in the 200s on both of them. And then we look back at home. 9 were taken on a plane crash. That tragic Sunday in November. Miles Monroe was on that plane. His wife and all those wonderful Christian people known to be. And yet they were taken. And I remember asking the question, what does this mean for the nation? Do we deduce anything from it? Is it a message for us? What does it mean? And a lot of people started to think, what does it mean? You see, when things like this happen, you're supposed to stop and take stock of everything. It penetrated the hearts and soul of every Bahamian that I know and hurt every Bahamian that I know. And they question, why? But it means something. There's a message in everything if you look for it. Here we are in 2015, betwixt and between a prophecy of Dr. Miles Monroe. From July of 2014 to July of 2015, many phenomenal things will happen. many phenomenal things will happen. Things that will bewilder you. He said so. Most people are in line with what he is talking about. They're seeing things at this particular juncture. We're not far off. In fact, today is June 10th. We are exactly 1 month out from July 10th. Does it mean anything to you? The prophecy. Even if it only makes you stop and try to be a better person, it should mean something. But here we are in this particular dispensation of time, rowing, striving with each other, against each other, for power in politics. When there's so much work to be done for people to benefit at this time. And while that struggle for power continues unabated, everything else is going wrong. Listen and look. Don't look at me. Look and read your newspapers. Talk to the people. Oh, yes, a lot of things are going wrong. We keep looking to man, but Bahama is still standing there unfinished. People continue to lose their homes. Unemployment continues to skyrocket. They have discontinued the service that they had for the people at Rubus in Marathon who were supposed to be getting this medical care. That's been discontinued. So many things. Carnival had a good time. The people ain't been paid. So many things that plague us. This is the time, friends, for us to rally together and fix as much as we could fix. It's not only the Carnival people who have not been paid. Lots of other institutions have not been able to pay. Lots of other institutions have been laying off left, right, and center in banks all over this land. See, these are things that make us, we read it in the news and we say, oh boy, because they didn't hit our corner. But these are things that are supposed to get our attention to understand that there's a bigger work to be done right now in this dispensation of time. But people are busy around about who got the power to give nomination. Who got the power to do this and who got the power to do that? When the only power belongs to Almighty God. You don't know what's going to happen tonight, tomorrow, next week. You don't know if you'll even be around. Yet you pass yourself off as having the power to do this and do that to anyone. We need to humble ourselves, eh? I come to tell you tonight, that God works miracles every single day. You just keep missing them. You just keep missing them. And as you miss them, there are one or two of us out here who will remind you that what you saw the other night was a miracle. What you saw on the 9th of November of last year was a miracle, though it was tragic. It's a miracle because many are the plans of man. It's God's purpose that prevails. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of work to be done, but our people are busy fighting. All of them busy fighting. And that's why today I've opened my line, so that you may help to tell them that the time for fighting really is over. The time for searching like that, if this is who we have now, let us hope that we can hold our country together. And if the people want to change the government in the next 2 years, then whatever happens is whatever happens. It is what it is. But in the meantime, we've got to be building a country. Without all of this foolishness that is happening, this cut and thrust politics, as we call it, as the nation has not progressed. We got a serious migration problem into our country that's upsetting us, that's overwhelming us. And, I wonder if we are on top of things. Do you know that the illegal migration trade is getting very dangerous to the point where migrants are getting into confrontations with those pursuing law enforcement agents. I can tell you last week, 2 weeks ago, an immigration officer was stabbed by one of the persons in pursuit. He was in pursuit of. Illegal. I seen the papers where police allegedly shot somebody who's a migrant, illegal in the Bahamas, in the head. Are we watching these things to see what kind of foolishness that we are getting into and how dangerous it is for the entire country? Are we watching these things? Are we bringing these things under control? Everything is not politics, friends. Don't fool yourselves. It's about building a country. Hard copy, how are you? I'm listening to you. Yes, sir. How are you?
How you doing, man?
I good. How are you?
I'm doing good. You're having a great show. I listened from the beginning.
Thank you.
Steve, I believe I would be correct in saying this in respect to the last caller. He said something very interesting. It caught my ear like yawns. He said, every voice needs to be heard so every person can have a chance.
Yep.
I think in one word, he's saying opportunity. In one word, he's speaking about unity. In one word, he's speaking about balance. Mm-hmm. We have to balance the law in this country. We have to balance the law. We have to balance morality. Steve, this is my country. This is my people. And that's the problem the opposition have. Who's the opposition I speak of? Those who are intent is malicious in respect to the inheritors' rights, the successors' rights of this country in regards to the Constitution. You know, people like to say, Amos like to try to talk like no, I'm a high school dropout. So y'all who made it, y'all should have been speaking up before me. Well, I'm learning how to speak. I just putting words together now. But I'm serious about what I'm saying. The difference between me, myself, and others who wish to lead this people, my people, is this, Steve. I have no time to lie to kings. Do you know what happened when you lie to the king?
What?
Time will tell.
I appreciate your call. Thank you very much. Hard copy, how are you?
Hello, Mr. McKinney.
Very good, sir. How are you?
I'm very well. Am I on?
You're on with me. Yes, you're live.
Okay, good. I have an invention that can be engineered to run for 1,000 years without burning 1 ounce of fossil fuel. I know it sounds outrageous, but you know, it's the viability. Anybody who really wants to check out, I have a makeshift prototype, and once you would have seen what I'm dealing with, you would agree with me. I know that Da Vinci back in 1494, he declared that it's an impossibility. The American Society of Engineers, they all in one voice agree that it cannot be done. Okay? But they said that it cannot be done on the premise that you're looking at the internal combustion engine or the steam engine. Okay, but my approach was totally different. I don't need external fuel. I have a fuel that cannot be depleted, and this is real.
I hear you. Sound like you've got to call me after the show so you can fill me in. I'm not so sure what you're talking about. Something that can cause for generation of electricity or something.
Yes, generation of electricity. This invention will operate anything that moves, from the smallest to the biggest. In fact, it is quite possible that it will even be able to create a heart machine. All you have to do is hook up the pumps to it, put it in the body, and it will pump for as long as you want.
And this is mechanical.
Yeah, this is a mechanical.
But it'll run forever.
Huh?
But it'll run forever.
It'll run forever. Well, nothing is forever, but
That's what I thought you said earlier. That
yeah. But
you said
when I say
1,000. You
forever,
said 1,000 years.
Eventually, even if you put a plane in the sky forever, eventually God is going to, knock it down. And the whole earth is going to be, renovated and everything will be taken out of its place. But in its generic definition, we come to perpetual motion. You Google perpetual motion and you'll see what the scientists say after scientists.
Okay. I can stop there today because I'm not skilled in the area that you're talking about. And so if you send me some information I can read up, then I perhaps can further engage you in this conversation. All right?
Yeah, Mr. McKinney, I would like to write. I'll take your number, and so and at some point, I'd like to come there and talk to you.
Okay, sir.
And because
all right,
this is going to ignite the next industrial revolution.
I hear you. Okay, I appreciate. What to do is this: the same number that you call it, and yes, they'll let you talk with me. Let's get back to something that we call urgent reality right now, and that is where we are in a country. Do you have any ideas, suggestions, anything that you want to say at this particular time as a people? All things considered, where we are. I know that you're tired of talking about a lot of things because I get the feedback. I know that you're discouraged in many areas, and that's why I started the show the way I did. You need motivation, but you're looking for motivation from politicians. Don't look there. Manhattan will fail you. Forget that. The guy just now who called, while that may sound like an offbeat call, he at least is saying that he is looking in other areas to do other things. Are we doing that as a people? Because I believe that even though a lot of us say that we don't check for the politician and government for this and that, I think we in fact do. And I think that perhaps more people ought to try to focus on things for their own development and the further development of this country, because the paradigm shift that Dr. Monroe talked about includes new people who we've never even seen before, which that gentleman could be one of them just now. You've got to be open-minded. People that we've never seen before, people who have never been on the political front, they've never been anything in this life. They've just been there in the background, obscured by the fact that we look at the big boys, the power breakers, the elitists, the ones who call the shot. But some new people are supposed to rise up and do some things in this country. And I wonder, even on those, what do you think? How do you feel about that? And I'm going to play a clip from it in a short time, but how do you feel about that? Because you see, I think that we're at the crossroads where we need to be encouraged. I mean, talking the news, which is a lot negative, is one thing. But losing people because they're discouraged is another thing. And we've got to encourage our people that we can do this, and we have to believe in one another. And the way that we believe in one another is by demonstrating that we will invest in your talents and your abilities. We're a country, 40 plus years old now. I mean, by all means, we're supposed to be able to have some people who can do some things. Everything cannot be of a foreign extract to bring into the country. Would you agree? We must be able to do some things by now. Do we have a pool of skilled and talented people that we can talk about in a positive way and salute them that they are good at that, and that maybe they need to have the light shone on them for them to be noticed and picked up and put in the safety box, if you get my drift. I'm leaning back to that crash thing. Maybe we got to shine the light on these people who can do these things, because it seems like we only complain when the fellas who in charge, whether they're this government or the previous government, successive administrations have been doing the same thing, going elsewhere. That tells me that we have not come too far as a country, that we have not built anything, that we don't have any confidence in what we do have in the country. And that's a sad indictment. For a country this old, by now, somebody got to have, you know how much people going to school? You know how many people are engineers? And I mean, how come we don't know them and they are not a part of building the country? Literally. How come? Talk to me today. 325-0235 or 6. Hard copy, how are you?
Hi, Steve.
Steve. How are you?
Very good, ma'am. Thank you kindly.
Good. Okay. Truly, God has imparted to you a job of great magnitude. You lift the morale of the people and the nation daily. And I thank God for the lives that were spared.
Yes.
And in every mess, yes, there is a message. Almighty God has been merciful to us yet again. And I give him thanks and praise.
Absolutely.
So I would like to say, let us heed God's warning and make that about turn.
Yeah, I think that's what it's about, that we must turn from our ways and do better.
Yes, yes. And I thank you. Each day you just, help the people, because everyone is going through a struggle somewhere, sometime, some point in our lives. And Hard Copy is really there to lift our spirits. And I give God thanks for that.
I appreciate it. God is good. Thank you so kindly.
Thank you.
Very good. 325-023546. Even Pinling, who is a great Bahamian, took time out from the busy rut of politicking and governing to have fireside chats with the people and to tell them some realities. We need leadership. We need leadership. We need leadership to utilize these microphones that are here for the nation to hear and to talk with our people. Pinling's fireside chats used to tell us all kinds of things about, and this was very helpful, that not because we're independent mean now that we must become lazy and not work hard. We have to work harder, he said. We must work harder now that we're independent because the eyes of the world are on us. This is when we went independent. And he took time out to go to ZNS and to give these nation-wide addresses to motivate and inspire the people. Do we have that today? The answer is no, we don't have it. What we have are a bunch of confused men who parade around as leaders of the country, and they can do more as leaders of the country if they are so inspired to inspire others. This is the difference. There were some who believe in community. Clarence Bain, Oh My Andros. People who inspired because they felt for the people. Can we get back to those days? Do we have that today? No, we don't. What we have is a selfish attitude of people who decide that I'm in charge now, I'm the big man on the block, and all eyes are on me. But what you bring to the table? Have you made anybody feel better about themselves? Have you brought any enrichment to the nation? Why, beautiful ideas and inspiring others to achieve? Or have you brought a divisiveness in the country where if you ain't on this side of the boat, buddy, we gonna kill you? Think about it. They're all guilty of it. They can't deny it. So much so that that division has rocked the very foundation of our Royal Bahamas Police Force. Because we believe that this side right and that side wrong, and everything is done on political lines. People, how do you not expect to be full of apathy and discouragement? That's why the lesson of that, what could have been tragic plane crash, is so relevant as a miracle. We ought to use it as a balm to encourage ourselves and others and our leaders that the buck stops with the Almighty, not with them. And that we're looking for a brighter day. I don't believe that they're getting it any other way. All this bashing, all this, they're not getting it. If they were getting it, we'd be doing better. If they were getting it, we'd have a real conversation with the Bahamian people about all the things that we have ambition to achieve and all the things that plague us. How come we can't get a handle on crime? We can if we are not dividing the nation on the very same topic. I'm here to tell you today that no one can be pleased about our state of affairs. Don't let no one fool you. And when you talk about it, they say, well, you ain't one of us. Well, that's too bad. Because the fact is, we are all Bahamians who want a good country. How come we can't get the immigration problem under control? Small little place like this. All the brilliant ideas placed on the table over the years since Ingram opened the radio talk waves in 1992. We have been putting all kinds of ideas on the table. How come we're not better off? Are we that dumb? I tell you, brothers and sisters, that we are that off because we really ain't checking for that. We really ain't trying to build no nation. We just coexisted and see if we can make some money. And that is a sad indictment. Because by now, the more senior people in the governance of our country ought to be statesmen, looking out for the best interests of a developing country, not this divisive, tribalistic atmosphere of politics. So a country polarized by it. And yet we're saying that we are doing better. Well, you know, words can say anything, and paper can hold still for you to write words on it. But truth is something that is uncompromising. And we see the truth. Some of us cannot even get the right words together to express what the truth is, but we know it ain't that what you're telling us. It is this. You think you could tell the fella down through Ross Corner, Balls Alley, Lewis Street, Gibbs Lane, Chippingham, you think you could tell them that what they feeling is a dream? That is not real. You think you could tell them you really ain't hungry. You just think you want food. You think you could tell them that? You think you could tell them that you don't need no job. Just hang around. Something can happen. You think you really could tell them that? Well, we are in essence telling them that, you know, because we ain't doing nothing. All of these programs that our prime minister has ruled out and laid out on the table, Albany project, this project, that project, the other project, the Bahama project, everything. Well, how come these things ain't coming to fruition? It ain't his fault that they're not, you know. But I'll tell you this, he has put the light on it that these things are supposed to come to help us, yet our people are not working. Let's go to Grand Bahama. It is so bad in Grand Bahama that unspeakable things exist every day. Part of the member of parliament from Marco City resigning is because of unkept promises. Nothing's happening for the people. And we got the gall to say, no matter what, we can go down there and win that seat. You see, we're not serious. The Family Islands, Abaco had somewhere around close to 16 or more % of unemployed. Grand Bahama 18, New Providence 15, and more of us are coming out of school. I'm only trying to tell you that you don't want to talk bad and negative about the realities of things, but it comes over that way when there is no solution, when there is no impact of bringing about an effective change as a result of talking about these things. I would be shamed into doing something more great and grand. I would mobilize my men and say, well, look, we've got to do better. I would have to do some things to get our people out there to get to work something, to get it moving. I just won't be sitting there and resting in a nice big pretty car with suit on and necktie on and air conditioning and going to the House of Assembly and sitting down and pontificating. I no time for suits. This is time to work. It is bad. But see, the question becomes, bad for who? Because only he who feels it knows it. The others who are feeling good and telling you, don't mind, Steve, it ain't all that bad. Let you weigh them and see who they are. They are the ones who have the strings. They're the one who have the means. They're the one who have access to the power, who can get things done and favors done overnight. That's who they are. That's a different category of people. So in their world, of course, things are beautiful. But if you live through Ross Corner, if you live in an open area of the ghetto where there's no gated communities, you hear gunshots all the time. You take cover.
You pray that your family is safe. You pray that nobody come rob you and kill you. You pray, you pray, you pray. And that's why I tell you, God is good to us because God keeps us in many regards. If you left it to these fellows who you put there to make sure that you are relatively safe, you'll have to question that. It's not good. See, don't fool yourself. Don't go put yourself to sleep talking about, boy, you know, this too shall pass, but it has to pass with works, because faith without works is dead. I come to talk to you about that tonight, you know. I could talk about all kinds of other things. I got all kinds of topics there, sound bites, all kinds of stuff, yes and all. But this is on my mind to tell you, you know, that miracle that happened includes you. The miracle that happened from those folk coming from Crooked Island to Nassau, that includes you. See, they were just nobodies, humble souls, no name, coming on the only thing they got, a single engine craft, go into the city looking for what they're looking for in the city, come into the city where there's hope and health, prosperity and wealth, come into the city and fall short 13 miles out. But God saves them. God saves them. And he saves them to tell a story, to be a symbol of a story of a new beginning. The new beginning is they are all different people today in their minds. I don't care what you think, and I don't know one of them. I can tell you this. In their minds at this moment, if they're listening to this, or as they sit wherever they are, their outlook on life is completely different. Guaranteed. Their appreciation for life and the small things in life is unquestionably appreciated. Their belief in a higher system, in a greater being, has been illuminated and expanded, guaranteed. Guaranteed. Because none could have called an MP. That's what I want to tell you. They could only call on who? Who could they only call on? Their creator. And look where they are today, safe and sound. And that's what we've got to do, folk. There are more of us than them. And I don't mean Bahamians versus Haitians. Don't get me wrong. There are more people who believe in the higher being than there are those who are atheistic in their approach. And good things will happen. Now, these people didn't get a sudden injection of wealth. These people didn't get a sudden injection of a big bowl of food. But these people had a sudden injection of a new spirit. If you got a brand new world, if you want a brand new world, you got to have a brand new spirit. You got to have a brand new life. You got to have a brand new people. You know who wrote that song? Dr. Miles Monroe. Full Circle on hard copy. Full Circle on hard copy. Serious stuff.
We are now in a moment where the old weapons that kept the Bahamas don't work no more. I speak prophetically that we are now about to enter in the next few days a period of what I call the last moment. From July 2014 to July 2015, there shall be tremendous change in 1 year. You watch. There shall be many people dying. I'm telling you, many will be sick. Many will be removed in ways we can't explain. Why? Because God got to make sure that the place is clear. I speak prophetically. You watch my word in the next 12 months from the day of July 10th. 2:14, there shall be magnificent changes which no one can control. And there shall emerge in the next 12 months leaders you never saw before. There shall be young women and men emerging whose ideas will blow your mind, and they cannot wear the old armor anymore. They shall walk with a new mentality. They shall have a spirit upon them. That should be the Spirit of God, and they shall take us into the next Bahamas. I speak to you with my whole heart that God is saying the time for a new leadership has been birthed. It has arrived.
When we come back, we run to the telephone lines. Hold the lines. We're going to take your calls. We are on a mission to make sure that you understand that you've got the power. Back in a minute.
At Henry F. Store Electric Company, we supply all your electric needs for any size project, from residential housing to luxury hotels. We can help you achieve just the right look, from doorbells to chandeliers, table lamps to ceiling fans, wire, conduit, panels, dimmers, switches, plugs, and even tools. And don't forget light bulbs. We have those hard-to-find, energy-saving fluorescent bulbs and more. Henry F. Store Electric, number 135 Matthew Street. Over 50 years of reliability, service, and low prices. We also ship to the Family Islands.
3 words catapulted him to millionaire status. He calls it a wealth whisper. The Commonwealth Embassy presents the Billionaire Believer Summit 2015. 1 day, 2 nights of intensive success training. Dynamic speakers include Dr. Shawalter Johnson, Greg S. Reed, and Dr. Mike Murdoch of the Wisdom Center. Mark your calendars and make your way to the British Colonial Hilton, June 22nd to 23rd. Register now at CommonwealthEmbassy.org or call 376-8054. It's out of this world. Seats are limited.
Attention all shoppers. Win over $30,000 in trips this summer when you shop at Solomon's Cartwright and Fresh Market. Win round-trip tickets to New York, Atlanta, Panama, Cuba, Santo Domingo, and anywhere in the Bahamas when you buy any 4 of these brands in a single purchase. Hellman's, Pedigree, Joy, Coca-Cola, Libby, Sun Supreme, Mahatma, Bluebird, Shaman, Clorox, Vitamalt, Swab, Flash, and Robin Hood. Buy any 4 in a single purchase and win $30,000 only at Solomon's Cartwright and Fresh Market, Nassau and Freeport.
When I fly with Sky. Sky Bahamas. When I fly with Sky. Sky Bahamas. Oh, the plane them spanking clean. The pilots them voice red. They fly you out on time. They fly the attendants red. Service is their passion. With you they take good care. Safety is their culture. Yes, they'll get you there. When I fly.
Fly with us to Fort Lauderdale or the beautiful Bahama Islands. Book today at 702-2600 or visit our website at skybahamas.net and experience Sky.
All of our parents were ambassadors of tourism at one time or the other. Your mom and dad and their mama and papa built this country squarely on providing a first-class tourism product. They smiled, they entertained, they shared their culture with the guests who came from far and wide, and they made tourism the #1 industry of our country. They did something more. They left us, the new generation of Bahamians, in charge of the goose that lays the golden egg, tourism. We can't fail them or our country. We must keep the tradition alive by doing the little things that mean a lot. A welcoming smile, a friendly wave, and a clean surrounding. After all, this is the beautiful Bahamas, an island nation of beautiful people who continue to make it happen. And that's why it's better in the Bahamas.
Next is Now with the new Samsung Galaxy 6, now available at BTC. Stunning form meets breathtaking innovation and sophisticated design. The first ever smartphone with self-charging capabilities, so you don't need to plug it in. Get ready to discover the next Galaxy, another first from BTC.
You like to travel? Come join me this Thursday from 11 to 1 p.m. at Solomon Super Center Old Trail. It's a live remote broadcast on Peace FM, and you can win over $30,000 in trips and vacations just by shopping Cartwright, Fresh Market, and Solomon Super Center Old Trail, where I will be. This Thursday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. live. Stop by. I know you can win.
The
best insurance in town is Advantage Insurance on Collins Avenue. They are simply the best because they provide easy, affordable insurance rates for home, car, business, or whatever is valuable or important to you. Advantage Insurance and Brokers, 61 Collins Avenue, is the fastest, most progressive insurance company in the Bahamas because they really take care of you by making insurance totally affordable. Call them now at 356-0285 or 6 or email them at info@advantagebahamas.com.
Executive Printers. We're professionals. At Executive Printers, we do not participate in trash talk. We concern ourselves with the accuracy and security of your laser check. That is why we put 15 securities on your laser checks. This is not trash. This is fact. It makes fraud almost impossible. Call us today at Executive Printers at 393-5011 or email us at sales@epbahamas.com. That's sales@epbahamas.com. Executive Printers. Laser checks. We do them right.
The choices we make can make us, like who we turn to for investment and retirement advice. Choosing CFAL means having a trusted advisor on your side, helping you build wealth and meet your financial goals. We manage pension assets for businesses and offer individual plans to help you design a secure retirement. We can provide brokerage services and comprehensive research support for clients needing a little more investment guidance. CFAL can help you build a portfolio you can be proud of. Visit us at cfal.com. CFAL sees your future.
Le Bleu, premium ultra pure drinking water. Oh, this is real refreshing stuff. Made especially for fine restaurants and hotels at the 5-star level. But you can drink it anywhere at any time because it's truly premium ultra pure drinking water. We believe that we've developed the ultimate process to produce the purest and best tasting water in the world. Le Bleu is the water that truly deserves to reside at your table, because a great meal should be accompanied by great water. And we present you with Le Bleu Premium Ultra Pure. Enjoy.
At Ron's Electric Motors, they repair and rewind all major brands of electric motors, including water pumps, generators, and the generator's back end, welding machines, electric lifts, air compressors, battery chargers, and more. They're equipped to handle up to 850 kilowatts and rewind up to 450 horsepower motors. They're conveniently located on the corner of Wolf and Clarence Roads and are open weekdays 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays till noon. They offer 24 hours emergency assistance. You can reach them on 242-356-0249.
Oh, well, love my island. Oh, my island mate. Oh, well, love my island. My island mate. Oh, well, love my island.
Island Made, locally produced products here in the Bahamas and available for purchase. For more information about our products, give us a call at 362-1102 or 362-1113. Island Made brands located in the Bacardi plants, encouraging you to buy Bahamian and support local entrepreneurship.
My island mate. We got in the coffee, that's my island mate.
Man, what in the world you got in these suitcases you told in the superwash?
Rachel come home with this cat. It's a pretty cat now. But he ain't getting toilet things down park yet.
So he going on the rug?
On the rug? I wish it was only the rug. Homeboy baptized our couch with some of that territory marking spray what they just use.
Well, why don't you get one janitorial service to come in and clean rather than carrying all these cushions to the wash house?
I do that. Now it smell like pine-scented parking lot after Junkanoo. So these going to the superwash.
That cat pee no match with them big boys now, I can tell you that.
You got that right. And when I get them dry, they're going straight to the composer for plastic covering.
I don't blame you, girl. But what you gonna do with the cat?
He going obedient training where he gonna learn how to use the toilet.
You mean the litter box?
No. I mean the toilet. He gonna learn how to doggone use that toilet or he could be in timeout all day.
Hey, Superwash. They washes your presses, it cleans you, and entertains you 24/7.
When it comes to hurricane season, being ready isn't enough. You have to be prepared. Prepare early at Super Value and Quality Supermarkets with great specials like 15-ounce Libby's corn or sliced beets, $1.39. Seneca apple juice, 64-ounce size, $2.99. Domestic foil, 25-foot box, $1.49. Fresh Currito all-purpose cleaners, 32-ounce bottle, $1.59. Low sodium Ciara chicken franks, 12-ounce pack, 99 cents. Find everything you need to be prepared this hurricane season at Super Value and Quality Supermarkets.
Entrepreneurs, are you missing out on sales because you don't accept credit card payments? Then BLB has the solution for you. Introducing BLB Mobile Express, the most affordable mobile card processing package for self-employed persons. With BLB Mobile Express, you can accept credit card payments almost anywhere on your smartphone or tablet, so you never have to miss a sale. Get paid on the spot with BLB Mobile Express. Visit any BLB branch or call us at 397-3000. BLB, your bank of solutions.
There's no other talk show like the show. If it's 5 o'clock, it's hard copy.
"23 behind the hour." Thank you so much on this Wednesday for being a part of our togetherness. I've opened my telephone lines for you. I want you to speak with me and tell me how you feel about our state of affairs, the conditions. Not so much that they're all negative or that you ought to concentrate on the negativity, because I told you today, there are many things that's happening around us that's great. There are many people who are doing some things that are wonderful. There are many people who are building the country in their own small way that we could never give full thanks to. I know many of them. You know many of them too. But we don't take the time to salute the heroes and heroines of our great Bahamas because we are busy politicking and pulling down. And some people call that the black crab syndrome. Whatever it is not good. And we spend a lot of time trying to look to these people that we perceive are demigods, the politician. We believe that they've got the power to feed us or to not feed us, to help us or to not help us. So we try to walk that line. But you know what? When miracles happen in the Bahamas, sometimes we miss them. We may have missed the message in the Miles Monroe misery. That whole impact was so devastating. But there was a lesson in that for us that we must do better. That is all he's been preaching. There's no big mystery there, what we suppose. We should do better. He was talking about all these other things that are happening in the country, from gender equality to all these things that plagued us and that continues to plague us. And we haven't moved the goalposts anywhere further. We're still talking about those things. And it seems as if no one has paid attention that we are going in circles, just like the people who had made their exit from Egypt and were supposed to be heading to the promised land. We are walking around the desert for 40 years because haven't you heard the news that the movers and shakers of these kinds of things that they've tabled in the House of Assembly and they've been talking about, that they're now saying that it won't come up no more this time, it'll be put off and on. Why do you think those things are happening? Why do you think that we can't correct some things that we should have corrected a long time ago? Because we're not listening. We've turned our eyes away from the Creator and we're doing fool. That's what the country is doing. And no, I'm not trying to give you a dose of religion because I'm not talking about any religion. I'm talking about the reality that whomever you decide is the God of your creation, except money and idols, whoever you conceive that Almighty to be, that's the steady in power. That's why it's in the Constitution. But we have decided to look away from that. And we don't understand that nothing's going to happen for us as a country until we look to it. And that's why I told you the story that in my mind, in my thinking today, I've been inspired to tell you that the Crooked Island matter is a miracle like the Miles Monroe matter. There's a lesson in it to be learned. What's that lesson? You need to dissect it. You've got to start reading. You've got to know what we're talking about to get it. And it's for everybody. It's not just for you as a local, regular person. It's for all the big boys, all of them.
All of them. At every level. This is sobering time, friends. Sobering time. But we still continue to fuss about things that don't really matter. Isn't that amazing? I want to take your calls at 325-0235 325-0242 or 43. 325-0252 or 53. You can even call me if you disagree with my thesis today. That's all wonderful. Please, you can call me if you disagree as well. And you can have your own perspective. That's why I've opened the lines, because I want to hear from you. Hard copy, how are you?
Hey, good day, Steve. How you doing, man?
Peace and love, all is well.
Hey, Yuri Camp here. You have a good show, man.
Yari Kemp, how you doing today?
All is good, man. God is good. Hey, I wanted to call you about this Bahama thing, man.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that it may not even open up until the end of the year. Is that true?
Well, I've heard that it may not open up at all.
Wow.
And I don't want to believe that because I'm hopeful. But I'll tell you, it doesn't look as if the end of the year is sufficient time. That's only 6 months away. It looks as if 2017 and by my calculations, possibly 2018, this is just my calculations based upon the mood of the politicians who are so very disappointed about where we are with it and the fact that they have almost even given up, flippantly saying that, you know, you've got to ask them when it's going to open now. I don't know because, you know, these guys, they only them can give you the answer. That's the nation's prime minister. If he don't know and he has no definitive answer, how do you expect to know? Because he is the minister of finance and he's the prime minister.
Well, let me ask you a question, though. I mean, what other works need to happen at Bahama in order for it to be open? I mean, it can't be that much work.
Well, it appears that there's a whole lot of work to be done. What we see on the ground, I'm told by my sources, and these are international sources, by the way. This is not local. I've been told, and I've said on this show, that what we understand the problem to be is that the people, this is a private venture, of course, as you know, with a lot of lands and stuff that they bought in the Bahamas and a lot of, I suppose, unnecessary, what I would call things that happen for us to inconvenience us, if I can put it that way, with the road works and all that. But the thing is, I've been hearing that, for the most part, that the Bahama situation is one of, look, they went, they got some money from the EXIM Bank, this private investor, Mr. Ismailian, and he has a number of problems that he has not been able to satisfy. People suing, encroachment, rowing with the government of the Bahamas, trying to get extra money to pay the contractors, who also happen to be Chinese. See, the thing is this. The EXIM Bank, as I understood it, asked these people to produce receipts showing through their actuary, showing that they've spent $1 billion. Perhaps that's what they draw down off first.
Oh my goodness.
And $1 billion cannot be accounted for at $1 billion. And surely the EXIM Bank, who are also Chinese, they're saying, well, that contraption, perhaps my word, contraption, not their word, but that they see on the ground right now is far less than $1 billion.
Yeah, I could see that.
Okay, well, they smart. That's their money. So their thing is that, how can you tell us that this is $1 billion that you spent in order to get your second stage of monies from the bank, and we're not satisfied with this first stage that you say is $1 billion?
But let me tell you something, though. Even if it's under $1 billion, right, and they have 2.5 left, even that within itself, I see that building. It looks like it's almost ready to finish. I mean, all of the work, what's left to be done, isn't total up to about $500 million, if that's the case.
The tail is in structure. The tail is in the structural, I suppose, strength. And on the inside, you haven't seen the inside. I haven't seen the inside, but I've had people who've told me and given me wonderful description of the inside. And I'll tell you this, that a whole lot is left to be desired as to where far they are. And at this point, with $1 billion, we could surely and certainly would have been able to done more than what we see. And they've abandoned some of the plans. They're putting up a fence now around the place. And I'm not so sure if that is to keep the people outside who may go and vandalize the place. So I can't blame put up a fence, but I'm saying when we see this happening, we wonder if construction is absolutely stopped and there's no time soon as to when it will restart.
See, because what you're telling me now that they're ready to pitch that and go home and leave it right there as it is. And
Well, you need to know the Chinese. If you study and you read and you travel, The Chinese have been all over this world, all over this globe, putting down investments.
Yeah, that's true.
They've left buildings 50 times larger than that on different continents that they've just abandoned because either they didn't like that the people didn't do it their way, or they ran out of money for the project, or the project exceeded what monies that they had applied for, and it was left just so. So let us don't get beside ourselves and believe that the Bahamas is so precious and beautiful that they got any special agenda for us. We've got to do things properly. And by the way, when it comes to construction and the rest of it, you know the biggest cost of construction is not so much in the material. It is very much in the labor. See, even on this particular front, we found wanting. When I say we, not the government has nothing to do with it. These people who have built this thing, we're found wanting because labor costs. We got labor costs. We got laborers from where?
China.
And who are these people? These are people who have been given a second chance through rehabilitation from prisons and ex-cons and so forth and so on. And so we've not been paying them top dollar. That's in our Western Hemisphere currency. We've been paying them something that is more closer to what they would get in China if they got a chance to come to this place and do something. So
If they were working for free. But speaking about workers.
But the labor cost can't be that high is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, it can't be that high, man. But speaking of the workers, and I'll leave you with this, man. There are a lot of people that left to go to Bahamas from Atlantis, from the other workplaces, from the other hotels in particular. I mean, some of them, I've been speaking to a few of them over the course of the last, I would say, 2.5, 3 weeks. And they say they're being put into a position where they have to choose between security and maintenance work. And some of them have already decided to leave Bahamas and opt not to do that, waiting for that. And that's just a shame, man. I hope they can get this together because...
Oh, you're not the only one. All of us are hoping that. We need it to happen.
It shouldn't be our savior, but right now we really need it, man.
Yeah, well, you know, like I said, many of the plans of man is God's purpose that prevails.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, good show, Steve.
Right.
Thanks, man.
All the best, right? You see, we've got to fix our eyes on the one who can save us from everything. And this Bahama problem really isn't a big problem, you know. But it's big because man handling it alone. It ain't really big. Christy will be given a good dispensation, a good dose of intelligence and wisdom from the Creator to know how to deal with that and to get it done. But he got to believe that. He got to be looking for that. See, a lot of our fellas, they're main into this God talk, you know. That's why I talk and plenty about that. They're not into that. They from a free world now of liberalism to the point where the agnostics, the evolutionists, and the atheists run things, especially in the United Nations. And who are we looking to for many things? The United Nations. They tell us what to do, and we say, yes, we will do it. Hard copy, how are you?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hey, good evening, Mr. McKinney.
Good evening, sir.
Well, Mr. Guinea. I agree with 100% with Dr. Miles Monroe say. We have new behemoths, we have some young behemoths who have some new ideology would actually blow them. They would think that they're in a dreamland. Do you believe that?
Yeah, I mean, we've got, this country is rich with talent. We've proven it in the sports, on the sports scene. We've won Olympic medals. We have baffled the world. We have shown them what we can do. Down through the decades, from Derwin Knowles winning that first gold medal in Tokyo in '64, to Cecil Cook and others who were with him, to Donnie Martinborough, to Elijah Obed, to all the great basketball players and baseball players, Adam Brister and all of them, Sweet Bells and everybody else. We have shown sports power. We can do things at a level by eating dilly and conch and peas and rice in the Bahamas without all the extra thrills that the others may have had. We have achieved greatly. Trouble is, that's on the sports scene. Do you think that we have only been able to achieve on the sports scene? We have achieved in many other areas, in architecture, in poetry, in culture, but we don't see the amplification of these people in anything. And I wonder why, because you see, and it's a long story, but I'll make it very brief. Once upon a time, there were some musicians who ran this country. The musicians were king. They ran everything. They had all the money. The musicians. Did you know that? And guess what? They had nightclubs all over this island. They had people coming here from everywhere in the world to come to be a part of the sweetness in the Bahamas. But they were nightclub entertainers. Men who were not so educated in Harvard and all those places, and London train. But guess what? They had a country and a place going in this country. We had things happening for us. Today, we don't hear from them because somebody took the place in a fit of jealousy to be in charge of being Mr. Handsome and being, of course, the king of the hill. They were the politicians, and we have never been the same ever since.
Well, Mr. McKinney, I would say that hope is still alive. And
Yes.
I believe that if we are part of the Caribbean, we are the crown of the Caribbean with the rubies and the jewelries on top. And I believe that God is the reason why God gave us more sea than land, because we were supposed to be innovatively trying to reflect the way
There you go.
that we used to see to develop our country.
Yep.
Like I told you, the ideas that some of us young Bahamians have will actually blow the mind of the average Bahamian.
I know.
It's true when Dr. Mars Monroe
I'm a
said,
believer.
but timing is everything.
I'm a believer. I appreciate your call. I'm a believer. Something great has happened in the country in recent times, and everything else, we don't believe in miracles anymore. We don't see the goodness in tragedy. We don't see when the country has already pivoted. This quiet calm that we have in the country, where those who know better are not speaking and saying anything, they're only talking in their circles. This is that part of what they call the calm before the storm. People have had it. A lot of people don't realize how much people have had it. But you're going to see it. And that's why I tried to bring a spirit of godliness to what we're dealing with, because I don't think that we realize that we're in a precarious situation. We're sitting on powder kegs in every area of our development these days. You can imagine the government can't get the economy to turn around, and the people are running wild, and people are shooting guns, whatever they're doing. We better start praying and asking for leadership to get some wisdom. Hard copy, how are you? Hi there. 325-0235 or 6 is how you can call me. I'm listening to you. You there? Here's what I want to share with you, friends, today on Hard Copy. L.W. Young, that shooting. My goodness. The police, the culprits is believed to have had on a school uniform. Wow. A Bahamian or a security officer is fighting for his life after being shot at a school. The school has been closed down. What do we do now? The school's closed down. Is it going to open tomorrow? You see what I'm saying? It's disruption. We are being interrupted by some things that just continue to plague us. Now, we can all throw our hands up in the air and say, well, these people wouldn't behave. I don't know what's wrong with these people, because that's our first retort. I don't know what's wrong with these people. Everybody's so violent. Well, I don't know what got into the minds of these people who did what they did yesterday. I don't know what got into the minds of people who go and kill people, shoot people. I don't know what gets into their mind. But I do know it's not godly. I do know that they perhaps figure they can't resolve their issues no other way. I got a psychiatrist into the studios one day. His name is Dr. David Allen. And I asked him about this whole thing about why are we looking the way that we are as a country with all this gun violence, and the fact now that people on the charts away in the United States and elsewhere got us on a listing that says that we are in the top 5 of the most dangerous countries as far as gun violence and the rest of it is concerned. Small little Bahamas. Dr. Allen says these young people are speaking out because they believe in that gun in a country that does not have or make guns.
And Steve, they can get their hands on very powerful guns. In fact, for some of these young men, they tell me the gun is their identity. Think of that, Steve. The gun is their identity. If the gun is your identity, if you take that away from a guy, what does he have?
Nothing.
So guess what? He is not going to give that up without a fight.
So we are fooling ourselves talking
yes,
about
sir.
bringing guns
In
in.
other words, when a guy says to me, Doc,
the gun is my identity. What's one guy says, Doc, with my shiny friend by my side, if I go to a party, the party's mine. If I play the dice game and lose, the dice game is mine. If I go to the girl and she leaves me, I'm still in charge because I have my shiny friend. But I said, suppose I take your shiny friend. Doc, I'm nobody. So the gun defines me. And one of the guys told me last week, he said, when that gun goes off, he likes the semi-automatic, I get a hit. It's my antidepressant. His very words. It takes away my depression. Now, Steve, think about that.
Dangerous. My goodness.
Think about that. And not only that, they say, Doc, we have nothing to lose. If you look, many are in jail, many on the blocks, the head blown, cognitively hurt, and many unemployed. One guy says, Doc, I'm dead already. He told me I only steal from people I know could kill me. I said, why you do that? He said, well, you know, if I'm successful stealing, I get something. And if I don't, he kills me, then I'm better off. We have a group of young men who are willing to not only kill, but who are willing to die because they have no hope. So this graph is a sign of injustice also in our country. It's going to require uptown, those who have, to share, and it's going to have the have-nots to really realize we got to put something under them, because if this goes on much longer, we're going to have another Ferguson in our midst.
Words of Dr. Allen talking with me recently about this serious violent crime problem. I try to talk with people who could bring some solutions. There are others in our midst who have talent. Dr. David Allen is one of those members of our country, proud Bahamian, who has come home, Harvard trained, university trained, and the best that we have, and he can't even make any breakthrough because the system is congested. You hear me ask him, who are the talented people who can build the country? Well, that's one of them. Are we prepared to deal with the reality of the situation? I guess not. But here's a man who's ready to be on the front line to help us to bring about changes in our neck of the woods. Let me take some calls. Hard copy, how are you?
Hello, Mr. McKinney.
Hi there.
I hear the psychiatric analysis of what's wrong with the society, but I beg to differ.
Sure.
A spiritual problem.
It is a spiritual problem, eh?
And it cannot be fixed by psychiatry, which puts you on the couch for years. I don't know that it even works. But I do know that the gospel of Jesus Christ works. And it works when we work it. And so what we're looking at is a paralysis of our spiritual leaders, many of whom should perhaps be defrocked for practicing things that are foreign, alien, anathema to the gospel, and therefore they have no power. But there are some real believers in this country, or that miracle you were talking about earlier in the show would not have happened.
Absolutely.
There are true prayer warriors in this nation, and there are some true believers. You was preaching so good, but McKinney, I wasn't going to call. But I can't let us go down this evening believing that we are without hope. We keep looking to the wrong sources for hope. We look to politicians for hope and answers. That is an illusion. That's a trick. For the most part, I smiled at the young man who resigned from the politics yesterday. The people in Grand Bahama sent a word. They said, praise the Lord, because they hadn't seen him from the night they were waiting to celebrate the victory.
Is that right?
And so we have young people, and yeah, you can have them on soon and I'll call. We have people who want to get down there on Bay Street and parade in the Parliament, but they have no love of the people they claim to serve. They have no connection. There's another one from this area that I live in. I haven't seen him from the day I cast the vote for him. And so when you go into the House of Assembly, you ought to be speaking for the constituents who sent you. But who are you speaking for when you haven't even gone back to see those people? You're speaking for yourself. And so you're going to find out very shortly. But on the spiritual side of this nation's problem, where the children are having guns, Charlie is a game they want to learn to play. The sexual imaging that's being shown, they want to try it out. The gospel is the solution for that. And each generation of believers has a responsibility to present to the new generation the solution. Everyone comes into the world a blank canvas. We don't know what to do. We don't know what works. our parents and older people are supposed to point us to the truth.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
To what will work. And so the failure that we're looking at is we keep waiting for the wrong people to have the answer. We keep looking at sociopaths who are merely mirroring, and I call it echolalia. I wonder who wrote the script. They all say it all so well, and it's so cute and clever. They don't like people. Matter of fact, they hate people. You can't look to someone who dislikes you for an answer. They're not going to do you a favor.
Very true.
And so the people who got the gospel that's supposed to save and cure and cleanse and correct, those are the people we should be trying to hear from. They are the people who need to lead this nation in prayer. Because anytime a hotel failed in this nation, when Lyndon Pinling was the prime minister, as you rightly pointed out, he would say to the owners, we're going to give you something on that investment you have down there. But we have to run that because our people have to work.
Absolutely.
So the formula hasn't changed. You can't run your property in this country. We can run it for you. And we can pay you something. But the people have to go to work. It's a very simple solution. We're in control of the country. If we tell you we can pay you 50 cents on the dollar, 75 cents on the dollar, whatever we tell you we can pay you, you're going to get it. Because one thing, you can't carry it with you, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So when we're going to put the people to work, no problem. As soon as we ask for a workable solution and for him to send some people in here who know what they're doing and who really love people, he's quick to answer. And I thank you for the good word you brought today. I was wondering if anybody else in the country knew that it was God who did it and who wasn't ashamed to say it, and that's you. Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord. Thank you. All the best.
God bless you.
Blessings on you. Thank you very kindly. 325-0235. It is my job to tell you that, point you in these things. You don't have to agree with me, and I don't expect you to in everything. You can call me and disagree with me. But I'm telling you, that Crooked Island thing was a miracle. And you need to see it how it works in your life. It was a miracle for you. And you ought to see it for what it's worth. And it should be a miracle for Perry Gladstone Christie, for all of them, for Brave Davis, for everybody. You know why? Because the people could not call on anyone except God. And if they take that from it, if they deduce that from it, and they call on him, and really call on him, not just a little prayer of safety, I mean really go to him in that closet and ask him to inspire you with the right stuff to do to save his people through you. That has to happen. But of course, none of us can come to the Lord except that we believe and accept. We make sure that we have nothing that we hold against our brother that will hamper our prayers or our appeal to the Almighty. And that's why I told you, when people get petty and anxious and nasty-minded and come off as if all power belongs to them, I've got to remind you, you have no power. All power belongs to the Almighty. And if you're smart, you'll go get some from him so that you can know how to do what you're supposed to do, since it's your time to lead in this country. Hard copy, how are you?
Hey, Steve.
Hey, how you doing?
A couple months ago, our pharaoh or emperor says, you can go to God, but you will come back to him. Ain't that borderline blasphemous?
You would not forget that, would you?
Huh?
You wouldn't forget that, right?
Look at that, very dangerous. God said, I am a jealous God.
Of course, he is very
I am
jealous.
a jealous God. That have no more idols before me. Because who I said to destroy, I will make mad first.
Absolutely.
That's a serious statement. You can go to God,
Yeah.
but you got to come back to me.
Yeah, that's a serious statement.
You harden your heart against God.
Well, that's a serious
God
thing.
cannot put a thought in your head to hire Steve
Serious thing.
or give Steve a break.
Yeah.
You say you can go to God, but you still have to come back. You just come back to me.
That means he more powerful than the Almighty.
That's a serious statement.
Yeah.
I don't know what can harden his heart up or make him feel like he got me like borderline
It's just ignorance. That's just ignorance. That's all that is. That's because people sometimes feel powerful in their positions. But I saw in the Bible where God decided that Nebuchadnezzar was going to eat grass.
Yes. And God had to tell Pharaoh, please let my people go. But he don't know. God knows all things.
Yeah. I appreciate your call. Thank you kindly. But you see, I say on this show all the time, we must pray for the nation and pray for our leaders and pray for that. And I mean that. I say it all the time. You know why? Because they too get lost in the shuffle. They too sometimes believe their own propaganda. They too sometimes become vain and bitter in this country, in this world. All leaders, they freak out. Sometimes they're intoxicated by power. That happens. And that's why we, the people, have got to always steady the situation by praying. And, you know, when Lady Russell called today, she reminded me of something that, you know, we're not seeing enough to the forefront. This is God's country, you Christian gentlemen who preach the gospel. You've got to assert yourself. This is your time to talk. This is your time to remind the nation. This is your time to get out of the pulpit, get to the microphones. It's free. And talk about what we should be doing, how we should build this country. We need to hear from you. You have to talk. You've got to, if you have to write it down and bring it, because the nation needs to hear hope. The nation didn't need to hear all this negative stuff that swirl around every day that we as journalists will have to look at and say, look at this, look at that. That's our job. But your job is to bring the healing balm. You preachers and teachers, those of you of great repute, you've got to step out the box and help to turn this country around, because if you're looking to these politicians, are you hearing how people on the ground are talking out there? If what's going to happen, they asking people. Christy, them doing all this stuff and then minister them over there, you don't know, are we going to go from the frying pan into the fire? People are talking like that, friends. That means that there's despair and hopelessness in our nation. They don't see the other way out. But I come to tell you that if you pray and ask for God to send a leader and send some new people to bring this nation about, he will do it. That's the charge. The people power. He will do it. If you ask them to raise up some new people, some people who are even on the scene now, to raise them up and give them a new spirit to turn this country around with their know-how, to give them a large dispensation, a large dose of honesty and truth. They give them lots of conviction and courage and determination and protection. We'll get it, you know. They'll do it. God will do it. But we stop hoping. We scared to talk like we are a nation that believes in God. We scared to talk like that. Some people are shuddering right now. Boy, Steve sounds like he's a preacher. No, I am the least among you. I ain't nothing. I come to tell you, though, you're lacking something. And what you're lacking is you're lacking the exercise of your faith. God didn't make anybody scared. He made no one fearful. But there's a time when your fear comes upon you, and those things that you fear will plague you. We need to rebuild the country. We need to rebound the country. We need to stop playing around. We need to get serious as a people, all of us. We need to find the requisite and the right leadership. There are people out here. There are people who can run this country. Unless you all want to, let's stop where we are and import some foreigners to come and run the government too. That's the only thing that they're not running as members of parliament. But maybe we'd be better off if they do. That's how vexing this whole matter is. He's given us all these people, and we are not utilizing our people to help us build a country that is for us, by us, for us, by us. We don't know how to do that. Is it any wonder the kids coming out of school have no hope of inspiration to do nothing? They don't see none of them doing anything. They see us bringing in people to do things. They don't have any inspiration from these so-called members of parliament who can dress. Oh, they can dress good. Oh, but that's because they're so vain. You can't beat them dressing button piece and pocket piece and wonderful neckties and nice haircuts and so forth. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're supposed to be beautiful and blessed. But you can't be a beautiful, blessed, empty vessel that ain't bringing nothing to the people. And I don't mean no money. I talk about the inspiration, the encouragement. Since they look to you, act like you are a leader and deport yourself as one. And that goes for those in the church as well, because the church is too quiet. The church has to be involved in the upward building of a society. That's what's lacking. And yeah, they do their jobs in their pulpit, but there is more work to be done. The harvest truly is plenteous, but the laborers are few. We've got to get it together, friends. We've got to get it together. We are at a dispensation of the last word, of the last moment, Miles said. He also talked about the difference between politicians and leaders. The difference between politicians and leaders. Where are we in the Bahamas with politicians and leaders? Is there a difference?
The politician has more to do with pleasing people. A leader has more to do with fulfilling a purpose. So if you're motivated by pleasing people, then you are really being led by the people. But if you discover a conviction and a purpose that you believe is noble, and I use that term noble intentionally, one that is in the best interest of humanity, and you're willing to lay your life down to the fulfillment of that purpose, then that's leadership. And I think this is in the Bahamas. We are struggling between politics and leadership.
We use a bit interchangeably. But you're saying
they are not the same.
They're not the same.
For example, true leadership is finding a human cause that's worth sacrificing yourself for. How many people in leadership in our nation? I'm sure that there are some. I've observed a few. But the majority of people who claim to be leaders, they're not willing to sacrifice themselves for what they're talking about. For example, true leadership is born when you discover the problem in life you were born to solve. I am of the opinion and the conviction that every human being was born to solve a problem. And when you find that problem, you discover your life. Let me make a statement that was made 2,000 years ago. The statement says this: if you save your life, you will lose it. But if you lose your life for the sake of an assignment, you will save it. Think about the words. If you are interested in preserving your life, then you'll never leave a mark in history. But you're willing to lose your life for the sake of other people. You will save your life. That means you will never die. Martin Luther King Jr. will never die. Nelson Mandela will never die. The men are dead, but they'll never die. Because when you lose your life for the sake of a cause for humanity, you literally never die.
And Miles Monroe will never die. A great Bahamian who passed our way, and the world knew him intimately, and we just barely knew him. We're just getting to know him. So he too will never die. His work. Great wisdom. He has more than 40 books out there that you can get and get some wisdom. Every leader. He did more teaching of leaders throughout the entire world, teaching them in seminars as to what they should be doing, the principles of righteous governance. Yet we are empty in the Bahamas and haven't been able to benefit for lack of reading and for exclusion, deliberate exclusion. By the way, when are we going to have Carmichael Road changed to Miles Monroe Way? It's a promise that we made in that sudden tragedy. I hope we keep that promise, because that was truly a man of God. Well, Here's what they tell me today on hard copy pages as far as text is concerned. Steve, can hard copy please tell me where are the reports on Carnival? Let's stop there for a second. Paul Major has had 21 plus 7 days. That's 28 days he's had to make a report. At last check, he was away, perhaps on vacation or whatever. But this was something that he said he was going to do, and he didn't do it. A man is only as good as his word. But I'm not angry because I expect this. Birds of a feather flock together. You will know them by their fruits. These are all truisms. These are all sayings. These are all statements. That's in the Holy Book. He didn't report, and he apparently won't be reporting. Why do I say that? Because I heard the Honorable Daniel Johnson, on the floor of the House of Assembly during his budget communique, mentioning something along the lines that he didn't have the report at this particular time, but at some point in the future he may have something, excuse me, and it has to come to him as the substantive minister of culture, and then he'll somehow get a presentation before the House to talk about the monies and the transactions. And I was like, well, this is the first time I'm hearing this. But Paul Major, right on this show, told me what he was going to do. It hasn't been done. Are you surprised? Enough of that for now, because we're looking at it and we're going to share some very important things with you along the lines. But the people are so loved in this country by those who say they believe in you that I don't hear anybody making noise to this commission. He was in charge of commission, Paul Major. I know nobody making noise say, Harry, pay the people. I know nobody say, don't worry, you're going to be paid because we can make sure of it. We guarantee it. I don't hear no politician saying that. Do you? But they then had you jumping up and down the carnival. This one says, good day, Steve. I learned from the chief of police that foreigners are permitted to bring firearms into the country once they declare via written documents. Please investigate. Will do. This one says, hi, Steve. Maybe the good Lord is saying, Bahamas, you are drifting off course, and I am waiting for the Mayday call, and he will save and deliver us all. Referring now, that call, that text referring to my opening statements today about the miracle of the people from Crooked Island. And you know, there's so much loaded in that I want to tell you, but I don't know if the time is right. But let me just say this, since it's coming to my spirit. Crooked Island is a far-flung island in the southeast Bahamas. And guess what? No one checks for them. Not really. I want you to hear what I said just now. Yet a miracle has happened to put the eyes on that place called Crooked Island, like Acklands, like Mayaguana, and that whole string of islands in that southeast belt, that have people leaving to come to Nassau to try to find a way of making a living. They're almost like forgotten islands. Beautiful people, kind-hearted and warm Christian people. Crooked Island. That's where the people were from. Where the miracle happened at sea that involved the small one-engine Cessna that they put their hopes in. That all of them were saved, including the baby that cried the whole time. In the water, with no light, in the dark, from 7 until after 11, till rescue came by way of a light on the inflatable that suddenly came on, and they were spotted. What a story. Sounds like somebody made that up. But I want to tell you, it's absolutely true. And it's true for a lesson for all of us. And that's what we've got to see. This person has said, Steve, Bahama is the change Dr. Monroe was speaking to. We had our hope in Bahama and not God, so he, like in the days of old, God has removed his blessing until we return from our wicked ways and seek his face. God is not pleased with wayward leaders, is what this person says. The rest of them I'll post tonight on Facebook, at least my producers will, and you can read them. But that's where we are. Final point tonight, before we go, on this June 10th, exactly 1 day from July 10th. Very important. We've got to do better. We've got 1 full month from now till July 10th, as aligned with the prophecies. We got this time to turn it around. And the countdown is on to it. The PM, when asked about not using young PLP members, had a lot to say. And this is aligned with what perhaps happened yesterday. This was in January when he said it. At the same time he talked about the revolving door on the show in January. I think that's the show I interviewed the Prime Minister on. Here's what he said.
There's been a criticism, Prime Minister, that has come about the Prime Minister not fully utilizing the youngsters in his grouping. And as a result of it, some of them have gotten a little bit, I suppose, overexcited, for want of a better word, in trying to amplify who they are and what they bring to the table. Prime Minister, speak to this for me, because some people said, you see, he came back with all these young fellas talking about he is going to do this, that, and that, and we gave him a chance based upon all these young people. Now, look, we don't see enough of them in the forefront of the governance. How do you address that, sir?
I'm surprised at anyone arriving at such a conclusion about not seeing enough of them in the forefront. Firstly, you know, I went out and I recruited them. So insofar as security, personal psychological security as a politician and as a leader is concerned, I have that. And the most important point I want to make is that I saw the future of my party as being weighed in the balance leading into the 2012 elections. I wanted to have the new leadership of the party there potentially in place, and to give a diverse group of young men and women an opportunity to participate. When I formed the cabinet, I had to make a selection and a balance between the old and the new, and I thought I had the right balance. Those persons who were not selected for the cabinet were given other executive positions, like Renwood Wells, the parliamentary secretary, balance against Tony Moss, who was a former member of parliament, someone who has experience.
Understood.
He's a parliamentary secretary, right? And in case of Renwood, I remember saying to him, man, I deeply regret that you didn't make the cut. I regard you as such a bright, intelligent young man. I said, and I really wanted to, and the first opportunity, I'm going to be able to do it. People like Arnold Forbes, for example, businessman, extraordinary story, former athlete, had a kidney given to him, a wonderful story to tell. Again, young, new. All these people came in. He became chairman of BAIC and has done a wonderful job in that capacity. So my point is that I don't know what would drive people to a conclusion that I have not empowered young people. See, they say of me, oh, Christy is laid back, Christy lazy, Christy this, Christy that, Christy is too soft, okay? So I don't know what you want. I give you the freedom to be who you are. Once you are operating within the ambit of the philosophy of the Progressive Liberal Party, the integrity that we need in governance, then you are free to express yourself, to do as you think is right for the country and for your ministry. I've empowered them to do that. I have a wonderful balance. And to those persons who are not there, people like Greg Moss, who's not in, Rollins, who's not in, now young man who just had to resign or have his position vacated by me. These are people who have been given opportunities to function. And if, in fact, they lost those opportunities, it was not because of me. It was really because of actions they themselves decided to take. We have a wonderful organization, and our governance is based on the realization that people will have different views, and that to an extent, the organization has to accommodate those views. And let me just say this, that I happen to be leader of the PLP, a party that witnessed me running as an independent, allowed me to come back in to be the leader of that party, and therefore I bring with me the sum total of my experiences, which that people disagree, and those disagreements have to be accommodated as best we can. And so I think the PLP is being now led right now by someone whose experiences are as such that will provide the leadership that is transitional into the next phase. And I'm amused when people have talk shows talking about why am I not going and why am I not this, as if we don't live in a democracy. On one hand, we have to credit people with having the good sense to determine who should be their leader, to accord to them the right to do so in our democracy. And then you say they're wrong if they keep me there. I don't know what you want to do except to say this, that the Progressive Liberal Party intends to work hard to meet the expectation of the people who supported them, to represent properly the people who didn't support them, and to be able to go forward to the next election fully equipped and resourced to be able to win the next election and give the country continued good governance.
Right Honorable Prime Minister Perry Gladstone Christie talking with me in an interview in January 8th of this year. And that went on national television and everything. And you hear him talking about, from back in January, I was asking him those questions about youthful leadership and his perceived not being too enthusiastic about it. You heard him explain the whole 9 yards. But I also asked him at that point, since we are in the dispensation of some politics to the point where people are now trying to figure out this whole play, that Greg Moss touch off a domino effect that would include some of the men that he called just now, Renwood and Rollins and all that. I asked Christie about not remaining as the leader of the PLP, if he is going to stay on, if he's going to be there. It's a very relevant question, even more today than it was January of this year.
You've spent 40 years in politics, 40 solid years in politics. Right. Should we expect that you're going to extend that to 45 by 2017?
To tell you the truth, at this stage, I do not know. What I do know is that it's going to take compelling reasons for me to remain. And those reasons have to do with people, a lot of party sentiment, my colleagues who are with me in government. I will never, ever contemplate doing something like extending myself unless there were compelling reasons to do so. And the organization, I can tell you, I'm having from all quarters, all over the Bahamas, people who are saying to me, you have no place to go. I know how that amounts to disappointment in the form of people who expect or who aspire to be leaders of the PLP. And I expect in a democratic country, just like Nottish decided to run, Dr. Nottish, to run against me and at a time when I least expected it, because, but he's my friend and he's my friend for life. Right? He ran against me. We had a contest. I won the contest. The next moment I said, come, my brother, let's get back together. Let's move on. So that's the way in which we deal with issues of this kind. I told my family when we started the campaign in 2012, this was the final campaign for me. I do know that people like Charles Carter would come to me and say, man, stop from talking about you going. People see you as a lame duck. Say nothing about it. And so I just stopped talking about it.
Understood.
As I stopped talking about it, then everybody became strident. Oh, he's staying on. Oh, he's doing this. Oh, he's doing that. But something has to happen tangibly, politically, for there to be an understanding that I'm going to remain in public life. Now, there's lots of people. There's every reason for me to believe that the basis of it exists. But, for me, I choose to focus on the fact that I have an opportunity to be a defining prime minister in this term, that I've had 40 consecutive years in public life. By the time I go to an election, I may have reached the stage almost of Sir Lyndon Pindling, meaning that only Sir Roland Simmons is ahead of me. Now, I have to be crazy to be thinking of Sir Roland Simmons, because I'm not going to live that long, because he did 50 plus years, 50 years at least. And so for me, moving forward, I'm hoping that I'm in good health. I am able to demonstrate that I'm very energetic, that I have a tremendous grasp, I think, of the country and where it should be going, that I'm amused when people talk about they need something new, because I think the policies and the innovations I'm introducing are new to the Bahamas. And quite frankly, one of them will be a national plan.
You're right, Honorable Prime Minister Perry Gladstone Christie, talking with me in January. Sometimes it's good to play those sound bites to keep things in perspective and in context, and as a simple reminder of the man on the mission with a mindset of making mastery, if there's such a thing. Well, that's our show for the night. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking with two young, upcoming individuals who have their eyes on what Christie has his eyes on: power and leadership. They're from the F&M. They'll be with me tomorrow on the show. One is a good friend that I became very familiar, not a good friend, but one I became very familiar with. And you know him too, Mr. Bamboozle, Mr. Johnson from Middlesbrough. He's going to be with me on the show tomorrow afternoon. I hope that you find it interesting to keep the dials locked right there so that you can be a part of what they have to say. That's our show, Nathan. Let's go home. Hard Copy has been a presentation of the folks who make it happen every day. And of course, they include the McKinney Media Group for effective PR concepts and advertisement, the Bank of the Bahamas, the Bank of Solutions, BTC Every Day, the new Samsung 6, Super Value, Island Made Products, Ministry of Tourism, AML Foods, Solomon's Fresh Market and Cartwright. There's a live remote on Peace at 11 o'clock tomorrow until 1. And if you are part of it, I guarantee you I'm going to be there at Solomon's. So you can come by, make your purchase, and I have lots of good stuff to give away to you. I'm going to look out for you. So come by and make sure we cash in on that. Advantage Insurance and Brokers, 61 Collins Avenue, Super Wash, Ron's Electric, Sky Bahamas, Seafowl, The Billionaire Summit, Executive Printers, Henry F. Store, The Light People, and Lebu, ultra pure drinking water. Remember now, with God's help, we the people will do mighty things. Good night from Hard Copy. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow.
This is Peace Radio After Dark.
Yeah, yeah. Ooh, yeah, yeah. Feel like the way the world is turning. Something inside is always yearning. Yearning for a brand new world. People everywhere are so confused.